people that have showed up here today. The last week has been really emotional for a lot of us. Last week was feeling very overwhelmed with anger. Anger about the injustice happening in the world. Anger about the responses on Facebook and other social media platforms when people are calling for justice and other people are trying to silence our voices. When people are criticizing people that are turning violent and letting that overshadow the people that are trying to peacefully protest the light of the injustice happening in Washington. For anybody that does not know me, my name is Katie Reed. I am one of Amanda and Clifford Anderson's 4 children. Anyone who knows my mother knows that she is a woman of great compassion and integrity. She works hard to make the world a better place, living to love and serve others, constantly looking for ways to help those in need. She has bestowed those values on all 4 of her children, including me. My mother once told me I was always looking to help the underdog. Most of my life, I was sure I would be a pediatrician someday. I ultimately chose a different path and ended up working in human services with individuals with developmental disabilities, going on to become a massage therapist and then into elder care. I am now a nurse and a health educator. My dad went to school at Cal Mum, as did all of my siblings. I remember saying to my father in my teenage years that I couldn't stand Caledonia, and I didn't understand how he grew up here, knew what it was like, and that made us kids feel too. I couldn't wait to graduate high school and move away. My husband Corey also went to high school here. Couldn't wait to get away either. It's funny how your perspective changes as you grow older and your priorities change. As a kid, being in a rural area and living miles away from town seemed boring and isolating. But when I became a mother, I began to see what Caledonia truly provided, was a safe place with a good school and a strong sense of community. My husband and I agreed we needed to move back with our daughter, Allie, standing here, to be close to family since my parents and all of my siblings live here and my in-laws are close by as well. We now have 2 amazing kids and feel truly blessed to be part of this community. I feel like I have a little bit of a unique perspective as a biracial woman that oftentimes has helped me bridge gaps between people that have different points of view, helping people to understand how to use their voice and make it heard in a way that people will listen. The majority of my childhood in Caledonia was a positive experience. I came from a loving, supportive family, grew up with some amazing people. I was lucky to have as classmates, many of which from kindergarten or even Bonnie's gym preschool, all the way up to graduation. Elementary school was good and uneventful. I had great teachers that remained respected members of our community, including Mrs. Kofta, Mrs. Van Maren, Mrs. McClenny, and Mrs. Blake. Some of those teachers ended up being my daughter's teachers 25 years later. Every teacher I ever had at Cal Mum made me feel cared for, valued, respected, and supported. I learned about slavery and racism in elementary school, but I honestly thought it was a thing of the past, something that only existed in history books. That was until I got to 7th grade. I apologize in advance for some of the things I'm going to share because there are some things that may make you feel uncomfortable. They might be things that you wish your children didn't hear, but there are things that are necessary.
They need to hear it.
Understand the experiences that members of color in this community go through. If these things make you feel uncomfortable, imagine how uncomfortable they made me as a child, made my sisters, my brother feel, the other children of color in the school. I remember being in Mr. Curtis's tech class when I heard someone say out loud from outside the room, "That black girl over there." To this day, I have no idea what prompted that loud statement, but it was the first time I had ever heard myself referred to as that black girl. The whole class turned to look I had never been in trouble in my life, and I was mortified. Again, people laughed, probably wondering what I had done. I was one of 2 black girls in my class, and he had picked the wrong one. A few people laughed when I came back, and the other girl went out, saying under their breath to their friends, "Hey, you know they all look alike." In another class, while the teacher was out of the room, one of my classmates told the first racist jokes I'd ever heard. He asked me what a black person's car horn sounded like. I told him I didn't know. His response was repeatedly saying the word honky. He then proceeded to ask me, in the middle of the whole class, what a KKK member's chainsaw sounds like. His response, "Run, nigga, nigga, nigga." Now I knew that word all too well. Everyone laughed as I choked back tears, and they couldn't understand why I didn't think it was funny. I remember going home and asking my dad why people were so mean. His reply was, "People are just ignorant sometimes and don't know any better. You can't let it bother you." That same year, I started to get different questions like, how can that be that your mom is your mom? She's white. You feel like you missed out on having 2 parents that are sane. The person had to clarify that question and tell me that she meant the color of them because I didn't understand what she meant. I was asked by one of the wrestlers why the black boys he wrestled were so much more smelly. Then came the stories about me stealing. Anyone who knows me knows I'm a rule follower. And that is not, nor is it ever, who I will be. We didn't have a lot of money growing up, so I never wore expensive name brand clothes. I used to look forward to hand-me-down clothes from an older cousin I thought was so cool. On one occasion, there was an Abercrombie shirt I loved. Couldn't wait to wear it like the other kids. One of my classmates whose house I had been to a short time before that happened to have the same shirt. She assumed I had stolen hers and told people so. The rumor spread and people laughed. That same year, one of my classmates had a sister who was working at Milex. Even as a kid, when I was in that store, I was aware she had her eye on me. To this day, I do not know what she saw that prompted her accusations. And she never said a word to me that day in the store. But she went on to tell people that I stole. I thought, great. Now, I'm that black girl and a thief. But again, I stayed calm. My friend ended up finding her shirt and later apologized, but the damage was done. Even as a child, I got a glimpse of what it was like to be falsely accused with no way to prove your innocence, to have your reputation tarnished with no way to clear it. Throughout middle school, I had people make fun of my hair, my race, my weight. The worst part was never said to my face, but loud enough to make sure I heard it. I can't tell you how many times I was at a friend's house or around a group of friends from school and someone slipped and used a racial slur. They would say, "You can't say that around her." Perhaps the worst of all time was when I was entering a local store with one of my younger sisters. A white couple walking out sneered as they walked past. The woman said, "Look at those fruity-ass niggers. This town is crawling with them." We were just kids. We weren't hurting or bothering anybody. Just walking into a store. In high school, everyone stood by while a white classmate angrily screamed at another classmate in the hall at school, saying date a black boy. I never did learn to let those things not bother me, as my dad suggested. But I did learn to hold it in. The embarrassment, sadness, and anger made me feel ashamed to be black, made me wish I wasn't different. I wish I was slender, with straight hair, with lighter skin. For years, I carried the thought that I was fat, I was black, and I was ugly, so who would ever want me? I felt like the ugly duckling. I thinned out over the years and started to feel better about myself. When I reached a point where boys were finally interested in me, I was crushed multiple times when someone told me they couldn't date me because their parents wouldn't approve of a black girlfriend. I had friends tell me their parents weren't racist, but they weren't allowed to date or marry black boys. This made me feel small and unworthy. I honestly didn't realize how bad it affects my feelings of self-worth or how much damage these things did until the last few years. I think that I honestly suppressed a lot of those feelings, and part of why I've been so angry over the last week. When people try to comment, when we ask for help because our lives are in danger and we are not being valued, and we are told that racism does not exist in this town, because I'm telling you that it does.
Yes.
If some of your closest friends and family who smile in my face
Yes.
and then go talk behind closed doors, they use racial slurs and they say, well, I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about those people. Those are my people. When my parents got married in 1986, they were surrounded by nothing but love. I learned, however, in my teenage years that one of the groomsmen at my parents' wedding did not approve of interracial relationships. He told his own child they couldn't marry a black person, and if they did, he wouldn't be there. These are just a few of the reasons I continue to this day to be suspicious of people who claim they are not racist because they have black friends or they dated black people. An old boyfriend's dad couldn't understand why referring to Hispanic people as wetbacks bothered me. I'm not talking about you, so what do you care, he said. My sister Danielle and my brother Brandon couldn't be here today, so I'm going to share a couple of their experiences. As many of you know, my sister had my nephew Jeremiah at a young age. While she was pregnant in high school, one of her classmates yelled at her in the hallway about how she was going to have a nigger baby. It was odd because that girl was a former friend of my sister and also wanted to date my nephew's father that was black. Then there was a time years ago my sisters were at an event outside Brockport College called Brock the Port. I believe that event has since been shut down due to the number of people that drink in public, especially underage students. My sisters were with two of their white friends when they were stopped by the police for having open containers that contain alcohol. My two sisters were detained in the back of a police car, given tickets, and had to pay fines. The two white friends were not addressed. They were angry and voiced their concerns to the officers, stating it was unfair all four of them had done the same thing, and they were targeting my sisters because they were black. They were told to back off, threatened, don't even go there. My sisters did nothing differently. They did not resist or mouth off. What other reason would there be for only detaining those two and not the others? It wasn't until a year or two ago that it truly sank in that some of the awful things happening in this world could happen to someone in my family. My dad locked in on the lot. He called my mom. She told him he needed to call the police. He needed to tell them what he looked like, tell them what he was wearing, and tell them what he was driving, so that when they showed up, they didn't view him as a threat and shoot first and ask questions later. My sister and her husband were recently driving locally when a police officer quickly pulled out behind them and followed them for a ways. They weren't speeding, weren't doing anything wrong. Everything was up to date on the vehicle. The only thing I can suspect is that they maybe look suspicious. My sister recently went to stay at my aunt's cottage in Virginia on the Potomac River. Before they left, and while they were gone, I prayed over and over that nothing bad would happen to them, that there wouldn't be a traffic stop that went wrong, that somebody wouldn't think they were trespassing when they entered the house. Unfortunately, a neighbor did call the police and claim that they were trespassers on the property. Luckily, those officers showed up, were respectful, did their jobs. It didn't go wrong as I feared it may have. But when she told me that, it broke my heart, because I knew the possibility of that fear coming true could have really happened. My brother was pulled over recently. The officer stating he thought the registration or the inspection sticker was yellow instead of red as it should have been. Upon approaching the vehicle, the officer acknowledged his inspection was indeed up to date and nothing else was wrong. So he proceeded to ask for his license and registration. He also asked if he had any warrants, if he had any drugs or guns. Yellow and red are clearly different colors. And I do not believe that the questions that he asked my brother are routine traffic stop questions when you've acknowledged that no one has done anything or someone has not done anything wrong. My brother had to ask himself the question, what if I didn't comply? What if I had given attitude? What if I did have a gun? How he could have been the next national victim. In these instances, there was no brutality, but the likelihood of being identified and targeted for the color of the skin is real. Sick at the thought of what if they're the next traffic stop gone wrong? What if they reach too quickly for their wallet or to the glove compartment, and someone makes that split-second decision to shoot out of nervousness or fear? I'm sure there are officers who have regret after pulling the trigger. You can't unpull it. Life cannot be brought back. We need to train our officers to undo the bias they have developed. And I'm not saying all people have it. But we all have different experiences that make us who we are. And in that, we develop different biases. In nursing school, I was taught to be aware of those biases, to identify them, to admit them, at least to yourself, so that they do not carry over into your profession and care of other human beings. If I behaved the way some of the officers across this nation have behaved as a nurse, not only would I not have a job, I wouldn't have a license.
Yes.
Officers covering for other officers needs to stop. Those who fail to speak out against evil become accomplices.
Yes.
The loyalty to be to the people they die to protect their stories, not covering up wrongdoing. Excessive force should not be allowed or tolerated. No police officer should be above the law. Edmund Burke once said, the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. This is not just an issue of black versus white. I'm sure many of you saw the video of the elderly gentleman being pushed onto the sidewalk of the The police department claims he tripped and fell. The video clearly shows otherwise. The elderly man was bleeding from his head as multiple officers walked past him and did not render aid. That was followed by 57 police officers from that task force resigning and protest over those 2 officers being suspended. That's incredibly disappointing. Far too many people are responding to Black Lives Matter with All Lives Matter. We never said only Black Lives Matter. We know all lives should matter, but right now, we don't matter as much. Some of those people also refuse to wear masks to protect others' lives from this virus. So ask yourself, do your choices and behavior truly respect the right to life for all, or only when it is comfortable and convenient for you? Does your right
Yes, Katie.
Does your right to avoid discomfort of a mask trump the right to life for your elderly neighbor?
Yes, Katie.
Or your neighbor going through cancer treatment, and so on. Within even just the last year, a very well-respected member of our community who held a position in our town had a conversation in a local establishment. He stated that they need to remember that we sent soldiers to the South to fight for them and their freedom. Unless that person wants to claim responsibility for what their ancestors did in the horrible institution of slavery, I don't think you have any right to claim that we owe you gratitude for something you were not a part of.
Yes, say it, Katie.
I'm certainly thankful for the people who fought for our freedom, but none of those people are alive today. And I don't feel like I owe anybody anything for that.
Right.
Okay? The people that are alive, I'm saying. Gratitude to the soldiers. You're doing great. The hypocrisy of people across our nation, and many right here in our own community, criticizing a black man who peacefully took a knee to protest, but defending armed white men, ignoring protections put in place to keep us all safe, as they protested their right to ultimately risk the lives of others in pursuit of their liberty and happiness. Our president called the man peacefully protesting the right to live a son of a bitch,
Yeah.
and implied he didn't deserve to play football, but referred to the men toting guns, threatening others' right to live, as very good people. I was raised to stand silent in silence with my hand over my heart as the national anthem plays. This is an expectation in my family, which my mother strictly enforces. As much as I respect the men who fought for our freedom, and so does the rest of my family, our family has always respected the right to kneel and protest. In fact, veterans across America have spoken out in support of Kaepernick and his right to take a knee. They fought for the freedom and the constitutional rights of all, which includes the right to protest. Though this is not a way I would choose to personally protest, I respect a man who gave up his career to fight for the life and liberty of all. To provide some perspective, I would like to share a little history on the national anthem. Francis Scott Key wrote the words to that song in the form of a poem in 1814, which was later put to music. He was a slave owner at the time, and slavery would go on for over 50 years after he wrote those words, referring to the U.S. as the land of the free and the home of the brave. This song became our official national anthem in 1931, 34 years before the Civil Rights Act passed. Please take a moment to reflect on how you might feel if you were forced to stand at attention and sing a song praising that great flag for the freedom it stands for, when it was sang for over 50 years before your ancestors were free. Then imagine it's over 200 years later, and you're being forced to stand and sing about freedom, and your brothers and sisters are being murdered in the streets. I'm aware that a lot of people in our community support President Trump. Will I pray for his success to bring our nation through this? I'm greatly struggling with this. Every time I see a sign that says, "Keep America so many people are hurting and don't feel like it's great. Because my work in human services has greatly impacted the person I am today. I have learned a deeper sense of compassion, patience, and gratitude for so many things many of us take for granted. I have also learned the grave importance of taking care of the most vulnerable among us. Gandhi once said, "A nation's greatness is measured by how it treats its weakest members." People across our nation are hurting, crying for help. People are telling us to be quiet and stop complaining. America, as much as I appreciate the freedoms that we have and I'm thankful for all I'm blessed with, does not feel that great right now.
That's right.
A couple weekends ago, I was looking at my son in admiration with how tan his skin was getting in the sun. But my smile turned to tears at the thought of the darker he is in this country, the more his life is in danger. I pray constantly for my family's safety. I pray the world does not experience more than I have seen it be for so many others. I see people around town proudly displaying Confederate flags. To so many people in the black community, it feels as bad as displaying a swastika. While many find it a sign of Southern pride or rebellion, that flag represents the fight to keep my ancestors enslaved. The fight to continue working human beings to the bone, beating them, raping them. People say they have the right to fly this flag, and they do. But just because you can, doesn't mean you should.
That's right.
When you know better, you should do better. If you're truly committed to making America great, you love and respect your neighbor, even if you don't like or disagree. You may have the right to fly the Confederate flag, but if it hurts your neighbor, why would you want to? We all have a choice to be part of the problem or part of the solution. There is no in between, because refusing to take action is choosing to accept injustice and oppression. Every major war we have been involved in our country has ultimately been a fight for freedom and our human rights. The bloodiest of all American history, bloodiest in all of American history is the Civil War. A war that started over the institution of slavery. Over 600,000 men died in that war. I want you to remember that just because you don't like something or haven't experienced it personally does not mean it is not real, does not mean it's not a problem. Racism is real, and it comes from people of all colors and all ethnicities. The saying white privilege does not mean your life hasn't been hard. It means that your skin color was not one of the things that made it harder. Many of you likely have no idea what it's like to worry about being pulled over just for being black, just for meeting the description of a suspect, which oftentimes means being black. Black men and women are murdered in this country for nothing at all or minor offenses. Breonna Taylor, an essential worker, was asleep in her bed when police executed an illegal search warrant in the middle of the night. When they broke the door in unannounced, her sleeping boyfriend thought their home was being invaded and fired one shot which wounded an officer in the leg. Police fired 22 shots, 8 of which hit Breonna and killed her. Her boyfriend, who acted in self-defense, is being charged with attempted murder. The people who killed Breonna have faced no charges. You do not have to like the way someone looks, the way they talk, how long they wear their hair or their beard, the clothes they wear, the tattoos or piercings they have, the religion they practice, the political party they support, their career choice, or the way they are raising their children. You do not have to approve of the job they do, the music they listen to, or anything else about them. But that doesn't mean we can't respect and love one another, be kind to one another.
That's right.
to help people, to bring people together, to spread love. And I would ask that you all do the same. I truly appreciate and humbled by all the people that came out here today. And I would ask that going forward, you continue to provide support, that you continue to try to listen to one another, and I will do the same. And please stay peaceful, because the violence isn't helping anybody.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Very good.